Hi, let's get everybody in here. Hello, hello. It's just you and me, Allie. So far, it's just you and me.
Can you hear me?
Hear you.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
How are things?
Good, good. We're letting more people in. How's everything going with you?
Great. You wished it or you mentioned it and it happened. Remember my house, how you were saying, sell it. And I kept saying, but I can't make, and you kept saying, sell it. Okay, so here's an update. The guys found a place and they will be moving. And I will be listing it as of June 1st. So it's a great deal.
Cashing in markets high is a really good business practice when you're involved with real estate.
Yes.
Buy low, sell high. You've heard it your entire life. And it's never going to change. Buy low, sell high.
Exactly.
Right now, high market, it's a good time to be selling, not buying.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that worked out. Sorry, I planted a seed that you weren't looking at, but it's weird how it just all falls into place.
I know. I was like, because you were really firm on it and you kept saying, you just kept saying, sell it. You said it like 3 times. And at the 3rd time, I just took a pause and I'm like, I wonder if I can. Because I keep telling her I can't. And then all of a sudden it just came because they didn't really want to move out. They were like, oh, well, you consider, a year's lease. Nope.
It's weird how when you start, what I always try to tell you guys is go knocking and talking. When you talk, actually, sometimes it all comes full circle for you. And sometimes you need somebody else to go, hey, but you can. Nobody said you couldn't, but you. It's kind of like that. No, I'm not afraid to fly. I'm an adult.
Yeah, I was just like, wow, it's really happening. And
well, sometimes we have to tell ourselves that it's okay, and then it starts to click, yeah,
that's exactly it. Everything, where all the pieces were like pieces of puzzles scattered all over the floor. All of a sudden, everything just started coming together because all of a sudden they changed their mind and they said, no, we'll move.
And you're like, wait, what? That was too easy. There's a reason why they said, it's okay, we'll move. They're all understanding that they don't have anything protecting them anymore.
Right.
So I think us as landlords are getting a lot more leeway, which is why the municipalities are all implementing their own bureaucracy and BS. Claremont voted on theirs last night. City of Pomona just passed theirs last week. So all the little municipalities are coming up with their own bureaucracy and BS. Watch out. A lot of them are using the same platform as the city of Los Angeles. So what's happening is they're creating little cities of LA throughout the county. It sucks. Be careful. I think it's Inglewood is more restrictive than the city of Los Angeles's rent control ordinance. More restrictive. So it's going to be quite challenging navigating going forward. And I keep telling everybody, I don't have a list. Come on. One was just voted in last night. I can't keep up with this.
Yeah, I saw the email from the apartment association and I was like, what?
Yeah. So what I could tell you guys is before you're going to do something, Google the city. Google the day of, okay? Because right now, all the little municipalities are coming up with their own, it's not a moratorium anymore. It's now an ordinance, and it's how it's going to be going forward. So we need to be mindful of that, okay? It happened.
Yeah, that for sure.
Yes, and I'm starting to see it a lot. Like I said, Pomona passed theirs, I want to say on Thursday or Friday of last week. City of Claremont voted on theirs last night. We have other municipalities voting on theirs. So we're seeing all the little municipalities come up with their own. It's not a moratorium anymore. It's now an ordinance. So it's permanent law for the city is how I want you to look at it. It's now the city's law. And there's a lot of them out there that are coming up with this. People keep asking me, Patty, do you have a list? I can't write fast enough. In other words, they're all doing it, okay? It's hard for me to keep up. Updates in Orange County, FYI, City of Buena Park has now come up with their own rent control bureaucracy and BS. We have already rent control in City of Santa Ana in Orange County, and now we're seeing it in Buena Park. Do not be shocked if we see it continue to spread, okay? We are seeing it. We are seeing it, we are seeing it, we are seeing it. It is happening everywhere. So buckle up and get ready. And before you want to do anything, my biggest piece of advice to you is Google it. Google rent control in that city, okay? Make sure it's coming up as a city in California, okay? Because a lot of cities have duplicate names in another state. So make sure you're putting City of blank, California rent control and see what comes up. Okay. It is the best way that I could protect you right now as far as rent increases and things of that nature and what you're trying to do, terminating tenancy, etc. If you're within LA County, here's what I'm going to tell you. If you're not governed by RSO, then you're governed by DCBA. And if you're not governed by DCBA, then you are governed by LAHD. You are not free in LA County. You are not exempt from everything. Even LAHD now requires that you send a notice to them. If you're terminating tenancy, 3-day curable, you got to send the notice to LAHD if you want to do an eviction in Torrance. You may not have to be registered, but if you want your notice to be valid, you're going to have to send it to the governing party within 3 days of you serving it. It's one of the new ways that they're going to be able to stop them from being evicted is if you didn't send the notice to the city within 3 days of you serving it to the tenant, then the notice isn't valid. And your case isn't going to be valid when you get into court. See how that worked? We had this big thing in the beginning. I remember Dennis Block talking about it. Don't email your document and upload it to their website. That helps them. Well, here's newsflash for you folks. Remember how they were like, oh, mail them to them, mail them packets of them, make them enter them, make them do their work. They can't keep up with supply and demand. It is not working. What they're saying is they can't enter it. It wasn't to them within 3 days, and now your notice isn't valid. Use the website. I know it helps them because it's already there, it's uploaded, they don't have to do any work, but it hurts you. Got it? So we that website. I know Dennis Block said, you know, let's make them work for their money. No, it's not, it's hurting us, not helping us. Upload it to the website. Nothing sucks worse than serving a 30-day notice because you're subject to the CARES Act. Let me give you an example. So you have to serve them, you pay rent in 3 days. If you don't pay rent in 3 days, then you have to be out in 30. And then we can start eviction on day 31. Here's the problem. If it didn't get sent, sorry, my car insurance company is trying to call me all of a sudden. But if it doesn't get sent to the governing agency, whether it's LARSO, DCBA, LAHD, I know there's a lot of them, but one of those governs you, even in a single family residence, okay? If it's not LARSO, then it's DCBA, and if it's not DCBA, then it's LAHD. Got it? You are governed by someone, even in a single family home. You are governed by someone. If it's not LARSO, it's DCBA. If it's not DCBA, it's LAHD. Got it? You are not free. Not in LA County, even in a single family home. I hope that clicks. I hope it makes sense. Okay, letting people in. Let's get back to questions. Good afternoon, Patty. Tenants under less than 1 year of tenancy. Hang on really quick, you guys. Bear with me 1 second. Sorry, one of my coworkers was asking me a question. She's like, how much are we charging them? I'm like, no, not yet. All right, what was I gonna say? Oh, I was reading a note. Hold on. Good afternoon, Patty. Hello, David. Tenants under less than 1 year of tenancy in the RSO area, Boyle Heights, the lease began May 21st of 2022, and the end date is April 30th of 2023. The tenants, the owners do not want the tenants to stay any longer, high maintenance. Can this be issued a 30-day notice to vacate under the current RSO law? No. There's no non-renewal, no. You have to have cause to terminate tenancy under LARSO. And it's not cause you want to. So material breach of the lease, if you want to ask them to move out so you can have a family member move in or permanently remove it from the rental market, you can do that too, but then you're paying LARSO relocation fees of about $23,000 to $25,000. Sorry, probably not what you wanted to hear. Even if you're exempt from the TPA under LA County, under LAHD, you're more than likely going to have to give 1 month's rent as a relocation fee under the county's bureaucracy and BS. Even if you're exempt from the Tenant Protection Act. LAHD is going to require that you give 1 month's rent as a relocation fee in a single family home. Sorry. It's LA County for you. Anybody have anything else? Not trying to make you guys upset. I'm just trying to make you guys understand. Also, let me say this. If you are attacking for non-payment of rent, take note, okay? LA City's moratorium ended on January 31st, okay? So in the city of LA, they were protected for February and March under the county's moratorium. So if you're trying to do a 30-day notice in the city of LA, I mean, a 3-day notice for non-payment of rent, please take note that for March, February and March in the city, it is a 30-day notice to pay rent or quit for those 2 months. And the reality is they're protected under the county's moratorium. They have 1 year to pay that rent back. So start with April and move forward. It's the cleanest route, okay? Start with April 1st of this month and go forward from there if you're going after non-payment of rent. Also, if you're required to fall under LA City's rent threshold, meaning their market rent rates, do yourself a favor and don't accept partial payments, okay? Partial payments are what's going to hang you because they will always make a partial payment to stay under the threshold, so you cannot serve them a notice. At least that's what I would do if I was a tenant. And I would use that threshold rent to go on a cruise. Who, me? I wouldn't do that. Never. You understand? Okay. The tenant wants to pay on the 20th of the month instead of the 10th of the month. I want to create a new rental contract. How do I handle the 10 days? Do I charge the 10 days in a notice? Why does the tenant want to pay on the 20th of the month? Are they on Social Security or disability? There's a reason I'm asking this. If they're asking for their rental due date to change based on when they're given disability or Social Security payments, he pays his commercial rent on the 10th. And you want your rent due on the 10th, or do you want it due on the 20th? You tell me. Well, you tell me, because if you want to change your rental due date, you could do that with an amendment, and you would have to initiate a prorate. Makes sense? San Diego City is trying to pass the tenant protection ordinance, which is more stringent than the Tenant Protection Act. I don't know if they passed it or not yesterday. I didn't follow up on that. I had a different municipality I was chasing, if you will. If the rent is under the threshold, can I charge the tenants the late fee when they're paying? There's no late fees in LA County right now. None, not until 2024, I believe, or 2025. But by then they'll eliminate late fees anyway. We're not going to be able to use them. Here, pay attention, folks, okay? Things that were great, but they just don't work anymore. Number one, a month-to-month fee. Can't do it anymore, but it was great while it lasted. Pet rent. It was great while it lasted, but we can't do it anymore. Late fees. They were great while they lasted, but the chances of us being able to implement them going forward are slim and none, especially in LA County. Let me explain. If you don't pay your mortgage, landlord, you're going to be fined $35 from your bank for being late on your mortgage. But if your tenant's late on the rent, you're charging them 10%, and that's $200. Is that price gouging? No, it's not price gouging. We're using it as a deterrent. It's only price gouging if you collect it. Right now, late fees in LA County are being heavily litigated on whether or not they're going to be allowed going forward. So for right now, don't do them. I hope that makes sense. Hi, Patty. We have a single family home in San Bernardino that has a few windows and sliding glass doors that do not have the proper weatherproofing to keep all the wind out all of the time. We have had 2 window companies go out that say that those weather stripping for the type of sliders and windows are not being sold anymore. The sliding glass doors still lock along the windows, so there's no security issue. We are trying to come up with a solution, but are we required to come up with a solution, or can we tell the tenant that the windows and doors are just old and it happens? I hope you're sitting down, Roadrunner. Weather stripping is a habitability issue under state of California. So winds, drafts, weather stripping, it all has to be sealed. Okay. Weather stripping, drafts, windows, seals, all are a requirement. It is a habitability issue. Sounds to me like the landlord needs to upgrade his windows and doors. Larso, I hear you, Ivana. I figured, that's why I said it. Hey, Patty, San Bernardino County, can I serve a cure or a quit for breach of covenant notice to tenants for consistent septic backup issues due to them flushing wipes? Absolutely. I would also let them know that they'll be responsible for any plumbing bills going forward for this type of backup. You're welcome. Woodland Hills, single family residence. Tenant brings in a pet. The owner wants to charge an additional $50 per month because of the pet. Can this be done in a single family home in Woodland Hills? If the tenant signs and agrees to it, most likely, potentially, yes, maybe. Here's how you have to look at it. When's the last time you did a rent increase? Because charging them $50 per month pet rent is a rent increase. So if you've done one at 10% and now you're asking for $50, you're over the 10%, and you could be subject to $10,000 fine and 6 months in jail. You get it? Pet rent is a bad idea. In Santa Monica, our tenant still has not had hot water for months, but only just advised us. From the time you are notified to the time it is corrected, it is a habitability issue. If they had that problem for months, but didn't tell you until January 1st, then January 1st is when they don't owe rent. Okay, and that's just me talking out loud. The plumber noted that the gas was turned off. The gas company said the gas was shut off in September as the tenant did not turn on the account into his name. So is it our responsibility to turn on the gas for the tenant to have hot water as tenant is not responding to us? What does your lease contract say? Does it say that you will supply gas or the tenant will supply the gas utility? Because that's who has to supply it. If the tenant didn't put it in their name because they never turned it on, maybe they don't have credit, maybe they didn't have the deposit, yada, yada, yada. They are creating the habitability issue, not the landlord. I hope that makes sense. Okay. And if you have a provision in your lease contract that says the utilities must be connected at all times, you may want to contact your legal counsel as to how you start an eviction for them not having the gas connected. Hope that made sense. Tenant will supply gas. So they aren't supplying gas. They don't have hot water. It's a them problem, not a you problem. Got it? And I would give them a cure or quit to, let me retract what I was going to say. Talk to your legal counsel. The property manager in me wants to say, get them. They're in violation of their written contract. They could be evicted because they don't have the utility connected. But considering that this is probably under LARSO and you want to proceed with caution, I'm going to tell you again, contact your legal counsel. Woodland Hills issue, new tenant. We realize within 1 week of tenancy, can I change page 1 and increase the rent and have e-signed? Oh goodness, David, what are you trying to do? You have a new tenant that moved in. You realized this within 1 week of the tenancy, and you need to change page 1 and increase the rent and have it e-signed. David, I need to understand what you're trying to do. You have a new tenant, they moved in a week ago. They have a pet. Oh, they just moved in. That's what you want to know. Can you charge them pet rent in Woodland Hills?
So can you see me on the video or hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, so their application didn't say anything about a pet. There's 2 roommates.
I gotcha.
Okay. And then we had to have a handyman go in like a day or 2 after they first moved in. And he told me that they had a dog. So I contacted them and they go, yeah, I told you when I first called and you said, well, maybe, you know, depending on what happens, but we went through they filled out the application, didn't mention it. I emailed them a PDF of the lease agreement prior to sending out for e-signatures, make sure everything was good. They agreed to it. They signed it, and now they have a dog. So the owners, I sort of talked them off the ledge there. And she goes, well, then I want to charge $50 more in rent. And the tenants said, okay, fine. So my whole thing is, do I do a change in term of tenancy? Do I do an addendum? But I'm thinking if I just change page 1 and raise the rent $50 and have them initial it and insert it, then it's clean. I'm just thinking off the top of my head creatively. So what do you think? What say you, Patty?
Because then you're not charging it pet rent. It's just a typo. The other thing that I would do is, how much of a deposit did you collect? Did you collect
$5,500? That's the rent, $5,500.
Okay, you may want to ask for a higher security deposit to cover any damages that the dog may cause.
Met the dog, and it's a loving little thing. They had it in a cage. I was there with the owner on Sunday and said, let the dog out. And the owner looked at me, you think we'll get bit? I said, well, now's the time to find out. The little dog came over, just real gentle, wagging its tail. It's only about 10 pounds, little poodle, little lovely little thing, didn't even bark. So I really don't think it's going to cause more than, any damage above the $5,500 on top of the other crap, because they seem like good tenants, right? So I
Well,
think 5,500 is
how do you
sufficient.
her mouth shut? Because I have a theory. If you can kick it over the fence, it's not a dog. And I probably
Uh, if
say
you
anything
can,
along those
if,
lines.
if you can kick it over the fence, it's not a dog. I said, if you can't kick it over, I don't know.
If you can kick it over the
Yeah,
fence,
yeah,
that's not a dog.
okay, yeah.
A dog
You-
to me is a big dog. Okay.
Yeah, no, this is like 10 pounds. It's one of those poodle things and it's
Right.
very gentle.
Point,
Yeah,
you're most likely dealing with the biggest problem being barking and house training, simply said.
yeah. The dog is house trained and when we were there, it only barked when it saw us like twice. But when
Yeah.
we got out of the cage, it just wanted to smell us and lick us, so.
Well, I'm a little petite person. If you've ever met me, I'm under
Yeah, I
5
have.
Carl. Yeah, so we tend to bark at things that are bigger than we are. That's what I meant by that. I'm being funny. Okay. But for the most part, yeah, I would just change that front sheet and go that way. That way you just came to an agreement, both parties agree and move forward that direction. That would probably be the easiest way to handle it. I just do a higher rent bracket. As long
Yeah.
as both parties mutually agree, there shouldn't be a problem.
All right, that's good. Thank you.
So you don't charge for the rent for the period of habitability as issues are not fixed. I'm going to make this real simple for you guys. From the time they notify you of a habitability issue to the time it's corrected, legally, they don't owe rent. So what I do is give them a rent credit on their ledger and move forward accordingly. You want to be really cautious that you are crediting someone properly when you have a habitability issue so that you don't get challenged. Usually when you're challenged with habitability, you're getting sued. You don't want to get challenged with habitability. I'm always very straightforward and very forthcoming with it. Go in a property with a tenant calls you and says, hey, I got a little problem over here. You come over to the property, it's raining in the living room, but it's not raining outside. There's a problem. I immediately try to calm it down with, you're not going to owe rent until this is corrected. We'll get this fixed for you, because what that does is it calms the tenant down. As soon as you say you don't have to pay, they usually calm down tremendously. So it's a tool I use to bring down the tension level, if that makes sense. And let's face it, if your air conditioner unit fell through your roof, okay, and you didn't have to pay your mortgage until that was fixed, you would be stoked. Okay, that's what it does to a tenant. It makes them ecstatic when they don't have to pay, and it calms the situation down, because if they're not paying for it, they're less likely to be running their mouth about it. And the key word there was less likely. I'm not saying they won't run their mouth about it, but less likely is always a good thing. Less likely. Next week, Wednesday, we are teaching a class for AGLA, the Apartment Association of Greater Los Angeles, on red flags, how to watch for them, what to pay attention to. So you guys might want to catch that. I'll be teaching a class all about red flags, what red flags to watch out for, when red flags. And I could give you my top 3, my top 3. If your tenant is in a single family residence and they are asking for additional trash cans, they have unauthorized occupants. Goes hand in hand together, okay? Something to know. If you are chasing a smell, your tenant says, oh, over in the apartment community, it smells really bad over by one of the units. You're probably looking for something that died. It could be a human, it could be a critter. But when you're chasing a bad smell, you're probably chasing something that is no longer living. The reason I'm telling you this is if neighboring residents are telling you there's a horrible smell coming out from that one unit and you serve 24-hour notice to go in, watch yourself, prepare yourself mentally, because when you open that door and you see a dead person sitting on the couch staring at you, it will mess with your whole week. Okay, I'm just saying. So if you are chasing a smell, prepare yourself mentally that you're probably going to find something that has passed away. Could be a critter, could be human, you never know. But that's me trying to warn you, okay? please, if you're chasing a smell, proceed with caution, okay? So there's a couple of Patty's little tips and tricks that go hand in hand together. They just go hand in hand together, okay? Keep those in mind. But I'm going to teach a whole class on red flags, when to pick up on them, when to catch them, screening red flags. Yes, I will be talking about all those, the ones that make me go, what'd you say? I'm sorry, what was that? That's always a good one for Patty. I'm sorry, what was that? You said what? Your girlfriend's gonna come live with you? No, she's not in this house, she's not. Okay, so I got a lot of tips and tricks regarding screening. What screening questions should I be asking a prospective tenant? Why did you choose to live in this area? I asked that question once. Why did you choose to live in this area? I'm just curious, because it's closer to my drug dealer. You'd be shocked the answers you get. There's nothing wrong with you asking that question. Why did you choose to live in this neighborhood? Why are you choosing to live in this area? It's one of my favorite questions to ask. I have a tenant in Kern who is complaining of termites. Yes, there are droppings on the windowsill. I had my handyman squirt some chemical on it, but they're back. Any tips on termites? Not going to tent, and it's just one window. So I'm going to treat it again, but I have a constant complainer. Watch yourself, Val, because vermin and insects are considered a habitability issue. So watch yourself. And I get not wanting to tent. Please take into consideration they're eating your house away. Remember that, okay, Val? They're eating away your house. We want to treat. I know you don't want a tent because it's expensive. Can I charge extra for termite roommates? No, you can't charge extra for termites, can't charge extra for cockroaches, can't charge extra for ants, and you absolutely cannot charge extra for ghosts. Not allowed. I had a lady once, and I saw Hilda laughing there because she knows I would. This lady called and she had a very heavy accent. And she kept saying that she had ghosts. And I thought she was saying she had guts. She had guts in her house. And I didn't know what she was talking about until she said that her priest was coming over. And then I realized it was ghosts, not guts in her house. So I told her I wouldn't charge her for the unauthorized occupants. She didn't think it was as funny as I did. Can I tell a prospective tenant to be clean because we've had issues with mice? No, you can tell a prospective applicant that cleanliness is a big concern of yours so it doesn't attract vermin. See how I worded that? I'm very big on cleanliness here at this property so we don't attract vermin. I have a plethora of verbiage. If you guys ever need verbiage, call me and ask me. I got it all day long. I have a plethora of it. What did somebody tell me? It's in my bag of magic tricks is a plethora of verbiage. All right, does anybody have, oh, here we go. I had a Guatemalan roommate with a heavy accent. He once asked me for a Coke. I understand exactly what you're speaking of. Geraldo, I had a lady that I worked with, and everybody was going to McDonald's, and she kept telling everybody that she wanted a large Coke from McDonald's. So I completely and totally understand the issue, because she was yelling, "Bring me back a large Coke." And with her accent, it wasn't translating well. And she was yelling it. "Bring me back a large Coke, please." Yes, heavy accents can be humorous at times. Only my name's Patty, and a lot of times I get called Potty. No, I'm not going potty. San Bernardino County multifamily unit. I have a tenant who wants the owner to make additional repairs to a carport because it rattles when the strong winds come. The owner declined any further repairs. What do I do? Well, it's not broken, it's just noisy. I'm sorry you're unhappy living here. Did you want to give me a 30-day notice today? It's not broken, it just makes noise when the wind blows. I understand that you're not happy with it, but I can't do anything to fix that. It's just what happens. It's Mother Nature. If you don't want to live here anymore, I'd be more than happy to take a 30-day notice from you. Got it? We can't control the wind. We can't control the rain. Let me tell you guys something. Before I got involved in this industry, I was doing vacation rentals in a little town we all know as Big Bear. Okay. Yes, I lived there, did vacation rentals. Had this girl come into the office one day in her little short skirt and her tube top and her little fur coat and her high heels and say, "I keep slipping and sliding in all this snow and ice. I'm scared I'm going to break an implant." And I just tried to giggle and play nice. Well, about 4 hours into her vacation stay, she called me and said, "You know, this snow is really beautiful and all, but I keep falling in it and I don't want to anymore. Do you have any houses that just don't have any snow around them?" And my thought was, yeah, I keep one in the oven for people just like you. But I couldn't say any of that. My response was, "You might want to find more suitable shoes to wear in this weather." She wanted me to find her a house without snow so she wouldn't fall in it anymore, as she was walking around in high heels in the snow. Sorry.
What was her response, Patty? What was her response?
She looked at me like I was some crazy crackhead snooty. And I just said, "You might want to find footwear that's more suitable for the weather." And I left it at that. But yeah, she wanted me to give her a house that I kept in the oven that didn't have snow at it in Big Bear in the winter time. So you do get strange requests from tenants, whether they're weekenders or in there for years, you do get some strange requests from them. Having that verbiage all day long is great. One of the things that I do, you guys, is I don't speak in absolute terms. And I know you guys all know that. Could, should, might, maybe, most likely. Okay. If you don't speak in absolute terms, you absolutely cannot give the wrong answer. So it works. Send her back to Palm Springs. Yep. You got it, Val. Oh, I got stories for days. You guys would laugh. I did vacation rentals before I did permanent rentals. Do you know what they do in vacation rentals? Do you know what it's like to do 30 move-ins and 30 move-outs every weekend? Do you know? It can be quite challenging. Yes, quite challenging. I learned a lot doing vacation rentals, like how much people can set things up to look like they aren't broken, but they actually are. I had a chair that I'm pretty sure they glued back together with shampoo. Because all you had to do was walk past it and the chair exploded. I got lots of fun stories, you guys. Lots of fun stories. I remember this one time when they didn't know that I lived across the street from the vacation cabin rental that I rented to them. And they were in the military, and I'm not going to say with whom, but one of them lost a bet and had to run down the street in the middle of the night in their underwear in the snow. They didn't know I was right across the street and saw the whole thing. It's kind of like when you rent a house behind the house you own and you don't want them to know you're the owner. So you're like, yeah, I'm the tenant here. Just live here. I'm the property manager. I don't own it. Yeah, you do. Yeah, I do. All right. Anybody have anything else that they just want to get off their chest? Anything that's heavy weighing on them? I will tell you this, you guys. If you're serving a notice, you better find out, and you're in LA County, you better find out who you need to give a copy of that notice to, because you got to give it to somebody. Somebody governs you, even in a single family residence in LA County. Somebody. If it's not LARSO, it's DCBA. If it's not DCBA, it's LAHD. No joke. If you want to serve a termination of tenancy and you're in LA County, you're going to have to notify a governing party. Otherwise, your notice isn't going to be any good for the most part. That's one of those things, is it's nice to know. Also in LA, they're requiring that you put how many bedrooms are actually in the unit right on the notice. So on a 3-day in LA City now, you have to list how many bedrooms are in the unit. So quite a few changes in process and procedure going on. And it doesn't help that we still have municipalities voting in new measures as we speak. Like I said, Claremont voted on theirs, I believe, last night. San Diego's implementing theirs. Somebody else does theirs on the 27th. Pomona just passed theirs. City of Inglewood has theirs, and it's more restrictive than the city of Los Angeles. Okay. San Diego is trying to move to the tenant protection ordinance. And that's what they're trying to pass. It is kind of like the Tenant Protection Act, but it's a tenant protection ordinance, and it's more restrictive. So City of San Diego is trying to pass the TPO, and the whole county is most likely going to follow suit. So here's what I learned, folks. If you're in a county that is on the coastal front, you have high protections for tenants and low protections for landlords. If you're inland, you don't have those issues. San Bernardino County, Riverside County doesn't have the problems LA County and San Diego County have. Keep that in mind. I'm conflicted about selling a recently rehabbed house. The house prices are sliding a bit and rents are going up. I'm trying to unload as I'm afraid of future, but in rent, it's tempting. What does your broken crystal ball say? Sell high, buy low. That's what my broken crystal ball says. Your rents are high right now, but they're not going to stay that way. You and I both know it. You guys, take your heads back to 2007. Are we kind of like right there right now? I don't anticipate rents are going to continue to go up much further. I have a feeling that they're going to come down in a very rapid fashion. That's just my opinion based on history. When that's going to happen, I don't know. But if you have the opportunity to sell now, it makes the most sense to sell while the market's high and buy when the market is low. So if the market's high right now, we don't want to be buying, right? You guys have heard this your whole life. It's not something I'm telling you, and I'm being careful because I am a broker. I got to be very careful what I say. So we've all heard it, buy low, sell high. Right now the market's high. So that would, I sold a house exactly 2 years ago, and the buyers just listed it for sale for over 100K more, right, Val? But it's not going to go up much more from where it is right now. If you do a cash for keys in LA County, are you supposed to notify LA CDA? You most likely possibly should notify somebody. Yeah. And here's the, if you got to notify them, they're going to know if you paid them less than you should have. Oh, is that how that works? Shit. So if I only gave them $6,000 and I should have gave them $8,000 and they didn't know any better and they signed and agreed, that's why the city's involved. Oh yeah. So I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to answer that. I'm going to tell you to ask your legal counsel.
I have a question, Patty.
You guys see how they're going to use that against us? Are you paying attention? Okay, what's your question? I heard you, David.
Yes, you say sell high, buy low. Unfortunately, in a 1031 exchange, you have only 6 months to do this. That's my biggest problem. I would love to follow your idea, but 6 months 1031 exchange is impossible to do such a thing. What is your suggestion?
And totally understand and agree with you. So then I would tell you, if you're going to sell when it's high, buy somewhere where you're less restricted. Does that make sense? In other words, if you're selling in the city of Inglewood and they have that new rent registry that's more restrictive than the city of LA, and you're going to 1031 tax exchange, I would tell you, don't do it again in the city of Inglewood. You might want to repurchase where there's less restrictions against you. Maybe possibly in Riverside County, in San Bernardino County, in Inyo County, Kern County. You got the idea? Okay. Yes, Hilda. But in Texas, I will say everything is either trying to sting you, bite you, or stab you. I would gamble and register the vacant unit when it's vacant, not familiar with Larso. Sometimes you're required to register a unit, even in the county, if you want to sell permanently, remove it, yada, yada, yada. You have to notify them. Allie was on here earlier saying that she had a house in LA and she didn't think she could sell and she knew she couldn't sell, but a couple of things happened and it just kind of all fell in place and now she's selling. And she's comfortable with that. She's happy with that. So keep that in mind, you guys. Keep that in mind. Yes, Allie. She's like, yes, I am selling. I didn't think I could. Something was telling me I can't. Remember, you guys, it's only us that are standing on our own 2 feet. I hope that made sense to you. It is only us that is standing on our own 2 feet. Meaning if you can't take a step forward, stop standing on your own feet. Hope that made sense. Sometimes I don't make sense. I know that. I try though. I really do try. All right. So next Wednesday we are doing red flags and what to watch out for with Agla. And then I'll be on here after that. So I might be a few minutes late. It happens. Does incorporated city in LA County require rent registration? Does an incorporated city in LA County require rent registration? That would depend on the municipality itself. Example, the city of Inglewood is incorporated, but now they have their own rent registry. So what you're asking me is, it's a possibility, Linda. It depends on the city. And don't look it up today and then make a decision on what you're gonna do next month. If you're gonna do something next month, look it up next month. The rules are evolving as we're moving forward. Again, just yesterday, they voted in Claremont on what's gonna happen with their rent control rules. So we're seeing all of the municipalities come up with their own B&B, bureaucracy and BS. So we just got to play it by ear until we figure out who's doing what. All right, I'm going to get off of here if you guys are done with me. If somebody needs something out of me, pick my brain right now. Otherwise, I will see you guys next Wednesday. Might be a little bit late because we are doing a class for AGLA. If you have any other questions or concerns, feel free to hunt me down. You guys know how to find me. In the meantime, have a great week. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.